Welcome to More Than a Paycheck, the podcast for high achievers who feel trapped in their job but know something has to change. If your bad manager and toxic work environment have you stressed and working crazy hours, and you want an easier solution than finding a new job, you're in the right place. Let's do this. Today's part 3 in our Toxic Workplace series. We are going to talk about what to do if your boss starts to retaliate. So, quick review. If you haven't listened to the first 2 parts, go do that. You want to start out by knowing what are the warning signs that you work in a really challenging, hard work environment, and how do you know what that means for you? Because what's toxic and challenging for you is probably different than what's toxic and challenging for me. So you want to know what that is and how to kind of avoid those situations wherever possible. If you do find yourself in that situation, next you want to learn how do you set boundaries. So we talked a lot about that in the second episode. Today we want to talk about what happens when you set those boundaries and people start to retaliate, okay? Setting the boundary usually isn't the hard part. It's hard in the moment, like it's nerve-wracking, but usually we don't set the boundary. We aren't willing to do the thing because we're worried about the repercussion. So there's 5 steps and there is an order of operation I'd recommend you go in if you find yourself in this situation where someone is retaliating. So let's say someone has crossed a line and you've set a boundary. You've removed yourself in some way. You've kind of taken the appropriate action you've committed you're going to do if that happens. So I want you to just keep in mind, of course, that person is going to react. They're not getting what they want. Let's say a leader is mad because the team's behind and they're yelling and being rude and aggressive and you leave the meeting. They're going to get madder. They're yelling because they don't have the emotional intelligence to deal with the stress and worry and anxiety they're feeling. So all they know how to do is react and get more intense and yell and be more scary because most likely that's gotten them some results in the past. That's all they know how to do. So if you're leaving and walking away, their brain and their nervous system are going to get louder and louder because what they're doing isn't solving the problem and they believe this is really intense and they have to solve this problem. Or let's say your leader has asked you to work last minute on a project over the weekend and you say no. Of course they're going to be annoyed. You are their solution to not looking dumb or not having to do it themselves. Okay. So step number 1 in setting these boundaries when there might be retaliation, step number 1 is you just need to let them react. Don't try to take it away from them. Don't try to make them feel better. Trying to do that is actually going to make it worse. I think of it kind of like if you've been on a team when there's been layoffs, toxic positive leadership is coming in and trying to make you feel okay and make you feel safe and make you feel good about it, which actually kind of makes you even more worried because now you know layoffs are possible and now you're unsure because they want you to feel okay about it. I'm like, no, it's totally healthy and a normal response to be sad or worried or whatever your feelings are when there's layoffs. So it's the same thing here. If you're leaving the meeting, if you're saying no, if you're speaking up, if you're pushing back, if you're taking action against what they're doing, let them respond however they want to feel. Because we want them to not respond. We want them to feel good because we're not comfortable when they feel bad. Okay, so step number 1, when you're setting this boundary and we're kind of worried about retaliation, step number 1 is just let them react. Let them feel whatever it is they're going to feel. Step number 2, you got to learn how do you feel bad. We don't want to feel good about it. We don't need to take it away from them. We don't need them to feel good. What we need to do is learn, how do I feel uncomfortable when they're having an adult temper tantrum? Because here's the key. When emotion is high, intelligence is low. We need you to be on your game. We need you to be the emotional, intelligent one. This leader, for whatever reason, has emotionally not able to regulate themselves. Okay. And they're doing and saying dumb things. We need you to stay the calm, confident one. The way you do this is not by just going numb and not caring and being harsh or freaking out when they're freaking out. No, the way you do this is you learn how to feel bad. You're emotionally freaking out. Okay, you gotta go learn how do you feel bad. Relax, breathe, name it, find it in your body, describe it. This is how you feel and process your emotions. It's a skill you need to learn and be practicing every day, sometimes hundreds of times. I was working on a team once and there was a leader that had us in a conference room. We were going on hour 12 and there was no end in sight. And I simply indicated and asked, hey, is there anything we need to do today that's going to block us from being able to move forward tomorrow? And they were like, nope, we're just going to keep going through this. And I said, great, I need to leave. I'll be back in the morning. And the room went totally silent because this leader had the whole team in there. It was kind of intense. It was this very nitpicky thing we were diving through and everyone was looking at me. But I was like, I'm done. I needed to go home. I didn't even explain why, but I was like, no, I've served my time working. I've more than worked a full days of work. And now I need to go home and take care of some responsibilities at home. I didn't need to explain why. I had worked my full hours. I also knew walking away, this leader was going to get mad, but I knew that was my boundary. I was done doing this because the work we were doing was these tiny obsessive details that were not going to make a big enough impact to save the project, which is why it was very clear we were kind of in this desperate phase. And so I just was like, nope, I'm done. This is a boundary. This is my time. I'm leaving. Now I could visibly see, this was my skip level that was running this meeting that I said this to. I could visibly see they were seething and breathing heavy and trying not to glare at me. Again, I asked if there was any urgent matter that needed to be solved before the next morning, and they said, no, just go. It was very clear in their tone. They were annoyed that I was leaving. And I was like, great. So I walked out. Quick interruption. If what you learn on this podcast is helpful, this is just the beginning. Your next step is to go and schedule a coffee chat, and we're going to dive into your specific situation. You'll leave knowing a few things you can try right away to get unstuck. And no, this is not a sales call. My goal is to help however I can. If I think coaching can help, I will tell you about it, but I'm currently on a wait list for new clients. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat and get on my calendar. I only offer a few of these a week and it's first come, first serve. All right, back to the podcast. Who knows what was said about me after I left? But when I left, let me tell you, I was freaking out. I was worried what that leader was thinking about me, what my coworkers were thinking about me, what things they were saying about me, why I wasn't in the room. I had to let myself freak out. While I was packing up my stuff, I was shaking, I was sweating, I was clumsy because I was so nervous. I left and I could feel my heart pounding. My stomach was a mess. My neck and my shoulders super tight. I just had to allow myself to feel it, to breathe, to relax, to let it be there. Because when I'm relaxing and just letting all of that angst be there, it eventually will dissipate. And it leaves so much faster when I just relax and make it a safe place for it to be there. Okay, so as we're setting boundaries, and retaliation is happening, first step is you need to let them feel and react however they're going to. Second, you need to learn healthy ways to feel bad. Third, you got to learn how do you take care of you. You're not okay. You are struggling. You're freaking out. You're worried you're going to get fired or put on a performance improvement plan or have some sort of retaliation. What do you need? Do you need a nap? Go for a walk? Do you need a hug? Do you need to watch some TV? Do you need a snack? Do you need exercise? What do you need? Now, in this take care of you phase, what I'd offer is make it something that's a healthy escape and don't do it in excess. Taking care of you is not numbing it away. It's not eating to the point that you're sick, drinking to the point that you struggle in the morning. It's not going out and making crazy purchases and spending a ton of money. We do those things because we want to numb away the not feeling okay. Our goal is to let it be there and relax and feel all of that angst and that worry and that uncertainty and create an environment that's taking care of you while you're feeling it. Again, it will eventually go away because those chemicals in your body are processing and releasing. We don't want to take care of ourselves in a way that just numbs it away because that doesn't actually get rid of it. It just builds it up and it's still there, and that anxiety and worry is still going to be there. Okay, so step number 1, let them react. Step number 2, you got to learn how do you feel bad. Step number 3, you got to learn how do you take care of you while you're feeling bad. Step number 4 is now you got to go and show up. Don't avoid them. Don't coddle them. Treat them how you normally would. Now, if you haven't done the first 3 steps, you're not going to be able to do that. Okay, that's why I say there's an order of operations. You got to give yourself permission to spin and freak out and not be okay and calm down before you can show up. Because when you show up, we want you to be the best you. We want you to look for ways to help, to do your part. You can't do this if you're freaking out that you're going to get fired. When emotion is high, intelligence is low. How you show up if you're still freaking out is very different. So, let's say we've done all these things and you're still getting retaliated against. Get clear on what it is that they're doing. What is the retaliation? Are they just being mean, or are they really doing things in an unfair way? If they're being mean, what that tells us is we need to keep holding our boundary and rinse and repeat those first 4 steps. Let them react, learn how to feel bad, take care of you, and keep showing up. Okay? Let's say they're being mean and rude and it's a team meeting and they go around to ask everyone how their weekend was, but not you because, again, they're annoyed because you said, no, you weren't going to work over the weekend. Okay. Speak up. Say, oh, you forgot me. Let me tell you about my weekend. Don't be rude. Don't be annoying. Don't play into the trauma of it. But if you're the calm, confident one, you're going to show up and be like, oh, they must have forgotten me. Oh, they're still annoyed. That's okay. I'm going to share with the team what I did for the weekend. They're allowed to forget me. I'm just not going to play the game. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm just going to speak up and share what I did for the weekend. You can't do that in a genuine way if you're still freaking out. People can read each other. People can tell if you're doing that in a way that you're trying to make the leader look dumb to the other team. People will pick up on that. But if you're just like, oh, you forgot me, let me share what I did for the weekend, totally different. So again, if we're worried about retaliation, we got to get clear. Are they just being dramatic, or are they actually doing some things in an unfair way? If you are being treated unfairly, get clear on the problem statement. It might be something like, I haven't been given a new project to own in the last 2 weeks, when before this date, I was given a new one each week. Maybe the problem statement is conversations in my one-on-one have shifted from you're doing well to keep it up to now things I need to work on. And when I ask questions, they're not able to provide specific examples about it. Maybe the unfair treatment is they're no longer showing up to one-on-ones. It's been 3 weeks and they haven't shown up to a single one. Maybe the unfair treatment is they're not speaking to me. Okay. Get clear on the problem statement. If there's retaliation, are they just being mean and dramatic? Keep holding your boundary. Or is there actually some action that's happening? So let's assume there's some action that's happening. Remember, again, if they're mean and dramatic, we keep doing those 4 things. Step number 5 is you want to keep yourself in a place of curiosity. Remember, when emotion is high, intelligence is low. Curiosity is going to keep you from getting defensive and acting like them, and in a way that's going to lead to worry and freak out. So in order to do this, you may need to spend some time in steps 2 and 3 of allowing yourself to feel scared and worried and anxious and unsure and taking care of yourself. Okay? But now we want to show up and we want to stay in a place of curiosity. So let me give you an example of what that might look like. Let's say your one-on-ones, now the conversation has shifted to what's not working, but they can't give you examples. I see this pretty often with a lot of my clients. So I like to go into this and be like, I wonder why they're saying this if they don't have examples. And I'm just curious. I'm like, I wonder what's going on for them. I wonder if really maybe this is an issue. I'm going to go ask some other people and bring that data to the conversation. Maybe I'm going to ask if there's specific deliverables or leadership principles that are being missed, or the impact this thing they're telling me I'm doing wrong. Maybe I'm going to try to get more curious on the impact and why it's a big deal and what shifted. Remember, we got to stay curious. We want to relax into it. If we're freaking out and worried they're going to put us on a performance improvement plan and fire us, our thoughts and feelings and emotions and actions are all going to spin and spiral in that. Now, this might mean this leader is no longer going to support you and is going to try to weasel you out and you need to get out. Okay. But we don't want to try to figure a way out from a place of anxiety and worry and stress and panic. We want to do it from a calm, confident, curious place of like, I wonder why this is tolerated. I wonder how I could advocate for myself. I wonder what other options are available to me to figure this thing out, because clearly there's an issue and we're not able to solve it on our own. Because the other thing to keep in mind is we don't want to work for drama queens. We don't want to work for low emotional, intelligent humans, for ones that don't know how to regulate their emotions. And the only way they know how to respond is to react and act like adult toddlers. Now, again, you may be in a place where you can't change jobs. Okay. Go back and listen to episode 2. We talked about that. If you stay the emotionally calm and confident and curious person and are open to improving, what happens is totally different than if you spend your time worrying. If you're worried about a pip and need everyone to affirm you and get on your side, you're more likely to get pipped, because good employees, they just do their jobs and they don't need all the validation every step along the way. Good employees, they make mistakes, but they show up when they do. If you're freaking out because you made a mistake, you're most likely going to try to hide it or be slow to call it out, and it's going to become a bigger thing. When we're freaking out, we get stuck in that shame and blame trap. Let them do what they're going to do. Advocate for yourself, but stay curious. It shows you are coachable and open to learning and getting better. But if they can't articulate what needs to get better or why, they are going to look like the fool. So again, we cannot control how our leaders feel and what they do. We can try to influence it, but what I'd offer to you is let them feel whatever they're going to feel and do. Let them show up however they choose to show up. Learn, how do you feel bad hundreds of times a day? How do you take care of you in a healthy way? And how do you keep showing up and stay in a place of curiosity? This is how you calmly figure out what to do when you're in a situation where your leader is retaliating against you. I promise you this works every time. All right, y'all. Make sure you subscribe. Our next episode is going to be our 4th and final episode in toxic work environments. And we're going to focus more on how do you, as an employee and as a leader, create a psychologically safe, healthy, fun work environment. Because we don't just want to focus on the negative and bad. We want to focus on how do you create the kind of place you want to work at. So make sure you're subscribed. More to come on that next week. You got this. We'll talk soon. Hey, you didn't schedule a coffee chat yet. Remember, that's the next step. There's so much more I can help you with. You're going to leave this coffee chat knowing a few things you can try right now, depending on your specific situation. This is not a sales call. My goal is simply to help however I can. If I do think coaching can help, I can tell you about it, but I'm currently on a wait list for new clients. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat to get on my calendar. I only offer a few coffee chats a week and it's first come, first serve, so don't wait. Chat with you soon.